Hey guys, welcome to my channel, and today we're reading Midoriya X Reader by Copper Hair Girl 123 on Wattpad. I have zero idea how I said this in one go. Anyway, let's get into it. Watching your ex-boyfriend Midoriya Izuku talking to his newfound crush, Ochako Araka, they were laughing and smiling. It broke your heart, but you knew it was gonna happen. It was actually the reason you broke up with him. You saw the way he looked at her. It broke your heart every single time. And honestly, you wanted him to be happy. And it was always obvious that Midoriya liked her, but you still went after him. And for the first few months, you didn't even seem interested in Araka. But as time went on, he started noticing and talking to her. Not that you ever stopped him from talking to her. You weren't gonna be that type of girlfriend. If he really wanted to be with you, he would be faithful. And it wasn't like he ever cheated. But when they hugged sometimes, he wouldn't let go as quickly as he normally would. Or she would laugh a little harder and longer than she used to. It was noticeable to everyone around. And sadly, it took a little longer than you wished it did to end it. The last night before you broke up with him, you kissed him a little longer than usual, and cuddled him a bit too much. He knew there was something up, and that morning he figured it out. When it's over, it came out of your mouth. You wish you could have done it without the tears, but to be honest, you cried harder than you ever have. You knew it was the right thing to do. You didn't even let him say anything to you. You left as quick as you could. You honestly didn't think he cried, but you had no idea. He was sad for like a week, but after a while he cheered up. And of course you stayed away from him for your own sake. It's been pretty easy for the most part. You guys were in the same class, but it wasn't like you hung out with his friends. You hung out more with Baku and Sero. After the breakup, Baku and Sarah made their mission to keep a smile on your face. Baku made sure that Midoriya stayed away. If Baku was too close, he'd either pull you away or yell at him. Sarah was just on cheer up duty. He did the most to take your mind off of Midoriya. They never tried to make a move on you. Honestly, no one did. They knew your heart belonged to Midoriya, even if you tried to deny it. They've all seen the way you've looked at Midoriya and Araka. They all knew that it broke your heart, but you knew you had to get over it. And today was the day. You tried to focus on the work in front of you, and you worked till you got tapped on the shoulder. You looked up to see Sero, who had a nervous smile. You figured he had seen that you were struggling to focus. You gave him a smile back. Do you need help? He asked, already pulling up a chair. You just laughed, not needing to reply, cause you already pulled your work near him, setting your answers, and the ones you haven't answered yet. Before you could even help, you heard a loud yell from across the room. Oi! That's why I need any help? It was Baku. But who else would it be? Before you or even Sarah could answer, Baku was already almost over to you guys. Yes. Let's just tell everyone I'm struggling on this work. You glared up at him, but just rolled his eyes as he sat down on the other side of your desk, taking the paper out of Sarah's hands. He looked it over, and just rolled his eyes at everyone who didn't answer. You didn't know how to do these? He pointed a couple of questions. They're so easy. Sarah just sighed, grabbing the paper back. She wasn't the most focused person right now, you know that? I'm pretty sure she could have figured out a couple of these, if she was more into her work. Sarah looked over at Bakugo, who just sighed and ruffled your hair. Sorry, I should have thought about that more. You laughed, looking at Bakugo. You guys. I'm fine. I mean it. I'm sure if I was more focused, I could have probably figured them all out. But I'm more focused than I've ever been. You looked at Zero, so no more worrying. I promise to be better. You giggled, taking back your paper, trying to answer the ones you haven't yet, with Baku and Zero watching and telling you when you wrote the wrong answer. Going to the lunchroom for lunch, you noticed it was starting to snow, which made you happier than you could even explain. You ended leaving Baku and Zero in the dust, not even going to lunch. You ran outside. Why you like snow so much? 'Cause that was your quirk. But you make snow with the water in your body. You freeze the water in your body and make it into snow. But you could also control any sort of snow. You took that as a chance to control the ones coming down, and made it swirl around you like a twister. You couldn't help but giggle and joy. This was the happiest you've been in a while. You make the snow twist faster, making your hair and shirt float slightly up. What you didn't know was you were making a huge twister of snow that was making the whole outside a huge winter storm, and almost ripping the tree out of the ground. But the twister stopped when you felt you couldn't move, and your quirk wasn't working. That's when you knew what had happened. You slowly looked behind you to see a cranky Razorhead, and a couple of students from your class were outside. It was Bakugo, Zero, Dinky, Ida, and Midoriya. You watched as Zero and Dinky started laughing, making you laugh too. Oops, you got out between laughs, making Bakugo smile slightly at how happy you looked. But Ida's face was disappointed, but he didn't expect much from the class president. But Midoriya was smiling so he looked at him. He quickly looked away. He looked sort of sad in that moment. He simply shrugged and focused on Razorhead, who did not look pleased. You need to calm it down, Ryan, he said, letting go of his grip on you, and turned around, leaving you and the couple kids outside. Dinky and Zero came running towards you, tackling you to the snowy wet cold ground. You all bursted out laughing. You looked pretty happy, Ryan. Zero chuckled, sitting beside you now. Dinky joined in. Yeah, I haven't seen that smile in a while. You giggled again as you made the snow dance around you three, but softer this time, making the two of them smile to themselves. What you didn't even notice was Midoriya and Ida were still watching. I should go tell them to come inside. I can't tell if it's their quirk or just the weather, but it's really coming down. Ida said to Midoriya, but not looking away from you three. No, let them be. Let them enjoy it a little longer. Midoriya smiled at the scene a little bit far away from him. I haven't seen her smile like this in a while. You miss her, don't you? Ida looked over to his friend, who just sighed. I know she misses you, but really, everyone knows that. Midoriya's glance went to the snowy ground. He could feel his heart and stomach hurt at those words. It's not like he didn't notice your quick glances, or that fake smile, or the frowns that you wore. She truly doubted an own sister loves you. Ida added, leaving Midoriya with his thoughts. Ida joined you in the goofy balls who were now throwing snowballs at each other. Ida sat down right beside you. He assumed he was going to tell you to go inside, but he started making small talk with you, which made you really happy. You're really powerful, Ryan. I never noticed that. Ida chuckled. It's the snow, really. Like how dark shadow gets stronger when it's darker. You chuckled back. Midoriya was staring at you too. He knew you broke up with him, and honestly he did cry. He bawled his eyes out, but he knew it was his fault. He knew he was slightly flirting with Uraraka, but somehow he had no idea how to stop. Then you became more distant, which made him spend more time with Uraraka. He knew he wasn't wrong, but now nothing feels right. He knew he loved you, but he knew there was something there for Uraraka. But was the heartbreak worth it? But since you broke up with him, he thought maybe it was a sign. but it still felt wrong. He tried to make it work. He wanted to feel the same happiness he felt with you, but nothing ever felt like what he felt with you. Yes, he would laugh with Araka, but with you it was different. "Everyone, come on inside," you heard the boy from class 3A yell, which caught everyone's attention. Every single one of you got up and ran in. After school, everyone was in the dorms. That is, besides you, was once again outside playing with the snow. But you felt like you were being watched. You looked up at the windows from your dorm living space. Your green-haired ex-boyfriend was watching you. You stared at him for a second before sending him a smile. You still loved him, but you weren't gonna let that get you down anymore. He stared at you for a moment, before running away from the window. It took you by surprise, but you just shook it off. After a while, you heard footsteps crunching in the snow that got your attention. You turned around to find Midoriya, who was bundled up in a green jacket and grey gloves. You giggled at that. "Hey, Midoriya, it isn't that cold outside. It might be snowing, but it's not that cold, really." You laughed, and honestly, how couldn't you? You were in your school uniform. Midoriya's heart skipped a beat hearing you laugh, and looked down at himself then at you, which made him laugh too. "Hey, you got a snow quirk, so it's not that cold to you. But it's actually pretty cold outside, Wayan." His cheeks turned slightly pink, maybe from blushing, or maybe from the cold. "You're right." He blind his hand, leaning down to pick up some snow, and balled it up, before throwing it at Midoriya's face, and of course, it hit him smack dab in the face. He started laughing louder than you already were. Midoriya wiped the snow off of his face. "You're a bully, you know?" He slightly laughed as he leaned down to make a snowball, but when he threw it, you stopped it and made it go back towards him. This time it hit his chest. "Hey, not fair." He pouted, and he looked adorable. "I'm sorry." He apologized, drunk too at the same time. Or maybe I'm not sorry. You were smiling so much your cheeks were hurting as you threw a couple more. "Come on, Wayan," he begged playfully. "Say I win then." You chuckled as you threw a couple more snowballs at him. He tried to dodge some, but some still hit him. "You win, you win," he shouted, half laughing. You stopped throwing them and gave him a smile. "Hey, I want to say something." His voice was trembling as he came closer to you. Once he was close enough, he took one of your hands and held it. "I'm sorry that I've hurt you. I did, and do still love you. I was being stupid. I didn't know what I wanted, but now I do. I mean, I know I have no right saying anything to you, but I needed to say it. I've been trying to stop these feelings and focus on..." He stopped for a moment. "But I know my feelings for you are the strongest things I've ever felt. I'm not saying for you to be mine, but I'd like to be your friend again." He looked at you nervously and laughed. "Well, I didn't expect this, but yes, I'll be your friend again." You squeezed his hand before leaning in and softly kissing his lips. "But I just wanted to get that out of my system before I started this friendship." You giggled slightly as you noticed he was blushing. "Also, I still love you too." You said, letting go of his hand and turning away from him and walking back to your dorm.